Good morning, everybody. It's Sunday. It's 11 a.m. And it's me, Teri Hunter. I'm here. Welcome to my YouTube channel. There's a lot going on in the stars this week. And we're going to chat about it a little bit. And then we're going to do a tarot card reading for each sign. This is going by your rising sign. Normally, I promote the whole sign Western astrology, but the more that I do this work, the more I enjoy the Placidus house system. It makes a big difference when you have a late degree rising sign. So if you indeed know your chart, you're going to want to look at it in Placidus, because if you are, good morning, Katerina, if you are a cardinal sign, a rising sign, and it's a late cardinal rising sign. So if you're a Cancer, a Capricorn, a Libra, or an Aries rising, you're going to be feeling Chiron, either making an opposition, a square, or a conjunction to your sense of self. If you are an early born cardinal rising, again, Libra, Aries, Cancer, and Capricorn, you're going to be feeling either a square, an opposition, or a conjunction to Saturn and Neptune. These are huge in the way you may be feeling. If you feel draggy, if you feel not motivated or inspired, a lot of this is because of the transits that are going on right now. We're in a big sort of on a bridge from one energy, earth and water, and we're bridging into air and fire. And I myself have been, I've been struggling. Not struggling to survive, struggling to feel motivated and inspired. Jupiter's moving into Cancer tomorrow for the next year. This is a very fortuitous energy. And at the same time, I'm thinking to myself, wow, Jupiter's already squaring Saturn and Neptune. So there's this, belief, this expansion of wanting to feel nurturing, wanting to feel a sense of home and hearth, wanting to feel connection, feeling even a sense of patriotism or a sense of connection to your home, your homeland, your traditions, I kind of think of it like, when I watch the cooking shows, and a lot of the chefs like to bring in their traditions that they learned from their grandmother, from their mother. This is going to be sort of a focus as Jupiter moves into Cancer. The other thing that we're going to find is there's going to be a focus on our emotional bodies. There's going to be a focus on our sense of security and safety. People who are born in the next year with Jupiter in Cancer, oftentimes you'll see homeland heroes have Jupiter in Cancer. I made notes. Let me look at this for a second. I think a couple of baseball players back in the early 40s had, where are my notes? I'm sorry, I'm so disorganized. This is just part of what's going on with me. Where did I write that down? Oh, there we go. So people who had, people who have Jupiter in Cancer tend to be extraordinarily popular. And that is evidenced by Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce. Both have Jupiter. They'll be having a Jupiter return this year. Jackie Robinson and Willie Mays both were American heroes, baseball players. Neil Armstrong walked the moon. And so he had a lot of Jupiter and Jupiter in Cancer things going on in his chart. So you'll find that this is so, there's a feeling of, oftentimes with Jupiter in Cancer, there's a feeling of positivity. There's a feeling of optimism. There's a feeling of expansion. People may find themselves wanting to improve their homes, wanting to, embark upon a deeper level of connection with their religious beliefs, their spiritual beliefs, their spiritual dynamics, incorporating them into the everyday activities. The thing that's nice too about the Jupiter in Cancer is Cancer can tend to be a little bit, do the crab crawl, right? Not be really sure of itself. It can often give what it wants to receive versus an overgive, like in a way that can be either abusive on the other end. The receiver can abuse the Cancer because they take, or there can be a feeling of uncomfortableness where the giving is rejected because it feels obligatory. With Jupiter coming into Cancer, it tempers that insecurity, because Jupiter is very confident. Jupiter, again, on the negative side, can be almost an entitled energy, an uppity energy. But here, I think it tends to bring out the best in the Cancer energy. So that's exciting. We also have, the other thing that will be happening with this Jupiter in Cancer is there will be an emphasis on people wanting to experience more gentleness, more kindness, more compassion. And I know we think of compassion as a Pisces thing, but it is very much a Cancer thing, because this is about bringing in family values and emotional support and expanding on our dreams. The other thing that's interesting about Jupiter is that it rules business. It rules marketing and publishing and branding. We may find that we hear more stories, more movies focused around hometown heroes, or around people who are inspiring, or around faith within itself. We could find people who have a renewed sense of faith in their lives, in God. Potentially, people could find God again. The other thing that is interesting about Jupiter that we don't talk about a lot is Jupiter, obviously rules travel, rules foreign travel, and Jupiter ruled or co-rules Pisces with Neptune. And this is an interesting dynamic because there is that trine to the Pisces energy, and there could be this feeling of traveling, but the travel doesn't come from physical travel. It comes from emotional travel, spiritual travel. You could find yourself having more, and I don't know why I want to say this right now. There could be like dreams that are coming up that are feeling like they're messages of some kind, like connections with your spiritual team on some level. Mercury is moving into Cancer as well. Actually, Mercury's booking on into Cancer, blow right past Jupiter. But at this time, as these two planets of learning, of communication, of information commingle themselves here, I think it could be a time when you feel inspired ideas, inspired thoughts, but at the same time, the square that Cancer naturally has to the Aries energy, and with Chiron hovering in those last degrees of Aries, and with Saturn and Neptune, the inspired ideas could come from challenges or old tensions or old thoughts that are historic in some way, that have felt erosive, and you transform them by, there's that saying, let it go, just let it go. Depending upon your moon, it's not easy for many humans to let things go, but you can let them grow. And that's what I think that Jupiter's offering. So I think that Jupiter's co-ruling of Pisces is going to bring out, during its journey through Cancer, a desire for more compassion, for more kindness, for more empathy, for more connection, for connection between humans as a human family as well. Not just, I think people within their communities, your hometown team, your hometown ball club, meaning your sports team, the one that represents your city or your state or whatever the case may be. I just feel like this is going to be very, very prevalent. And again, those that are birthing little ones during this time, it's very interesting, because the babies that are going to be born this summer are going to have Saturn and Neptune conjunct in Aries. They're still going to have Chiron in Aries. There's a lot to do with the self and how I project the self and the hero dynamic, the passion that Aries has, or otherwise known as the fire that Aries has. So I think the children that are being born right now are going to be part of a revolution, and I think that revolution is probably an evolution of man entering the galactic community, going out into exploring space. Ultimately, Jupiter is an explorer, is a nomad on some level, a shaman. So here we come into this Cancer energy and we're feeling the shaman of intuition, but the intuition that connects humans. Emotional sensitivity is on the docket. This week, we also have a full moon in Sagittarius. Good morning, J Dog. Good morning, Catherine. Good morning, Small Wildflowers. I said hi to Katerina. Welcome to the room. I know things have been quite stuttered on my channel lately. The construction, I believe, is over. My third contractor, the hero that he was, turned into a total D-bag after I paid him his money. He didn't finish the job. The little details that were important to me. He did the big things. But, my opportunity this week is to look at the things that bring me joy and just turn my head away from the things that are challenging. My contractor is a late born Aries. His birthday is April 18th. So as I'm working with him, I'm recognizing that Chiron is sitting on his sun, and you could see it all over his behavior. Because in his lack of awareness of that, it was all about the wound. He was a big victim to everything. And it's really hard to see a large man act like a victim to things that are his own choosing, like where he chooses to drive his car or where he chooses to purchase his materials. So be mindful of this, because this awareness of astrology will help you handle the things and the people who are walking very unconsciously through the planet. Jupiter technically enters Cancer tomorrow, the 9th, at late in the evening Pacific time, and then Mercury enters Cancer earlier in the day. So this is, you will feel that. There will be a full moon at 20 degrees of Sagittarius on the 11th at 12:43 a.m. I think that this is an interesting dynamic, because again, we're seeing a lot of Jupiterian energy focused here with when a planet moves into its exaltation. I should have said this straight up. It has the best opportunity to express the highest vibration of that planet. Okay. And this is why exaltation is so powerful. When it's in its fall, it has its most challenging environment to express itself. So wherever Cancer is in your chart, this is an opportunity for you to expand in that house. So let's say if your Jupiter is in the 3rd house, you have an opportunity to expand on your learning, your community, your communications, on your ability to be social with other people. If it's in the 8th house, you're going to be able to have an opportunity to expand potentially financially, because the 8th house is naturally a financial house. So you're going to want to look at your chart. And I really want to emphasize the Placidus house system, because when I started off in whole sign, and it really didn't serve me, because I'm such a late degree Aries rising that it's very important for me to know that most of my 1st house of self is in the house of invisibility. So when I'm looking at my chart, the Cancer is not my 4th house. It's really my 3rd house, and then drifts into my 4th house. So this is important, because in Placidus, you have the potential of expansion in 2 areas within your chart. So there we go. The other thing that's happening, I think is important, is we're experiencing, in about a month, Uranus is going to move into Gemini. So this means that all the outer planets are going to be in new energies. And right now Uranus is making a square to Mars in the late degrees of Leo. This is war. This is the rebellion. This is, both signs are fixed, Leo and Taurus. Mars is fiery and powerful in Leo. And I feel like Mars has been a bit frustrated. It spent a lot of time in Cancer last year, and now it's trying to get some traction. Okay. And Mars rules the first house of Aries, and there's a lot of action going on there. So the reason I bring this up is because this square between Uranus and Mars could inadvertently bring up some old history. It could inadvertently create scenarios where your sense of self is being dinged. I literally got scolded by the contractor because I wanted to change the hardware in my bathroom, and he didn't tell his guys that I wanted to do it, and they had already painted, and he was pissed about that. Now, that's ridiculous to me, because what is the whole point of a renovation if you're not changing 20-year-old hardware? So these kind of unreasonable annoyances could come up. So be mindful of that, because this square is, I don't know, it feels like out of nowhere, there could be an argument, there could be a fight, there could be snarkiness, there could be people just being ornery, just being no for the sake of saying no, or being contrary, as I said. So be mindful of that. And I think that's about it. Let me just look and see if there's anything else that I wanted to. Mars is square. Yes, yes. Venus has entered a rulership, by the way. She's entered Taurus. So this is also a good time to start to think about how you want to capitalize on what Venus offers. Again, Taurus is a money access, and wherever that is in your chart, there's an opportunity for expansion, because Taurus and Cancer sextile one another. So as the planet goes through that, and Jupiter is making a sextile to Venus, it is right now, there's opportunity for expansion there when it comes to money and a sense of self. I want to say that too. I really feel like people's, oh, I didn't bring this up. Oh, I'm telling you, there's so much, like, I'm literally exhausted from the war. I will tell you. And I'm not ready to go to phase 2 yet. I need to decompress from phase 1. One of the things I want to mention too is that Mars is on Regulus. That's why Mars is so powerful right now. Regulus is the fixed star of kings and emperors. And when Mars sits on that star, it has a tendency to feel its most arrogant self. Okay. So as it makes this square to Uranus, there could be, just be mindful, and not to I don't want to bash the masculine energy, because women have a strong masculine energy, but it could be a masculine energy that comes from a woman, or literally a man that's involved in this, a potential, what I think could be an unexpected outburst this week. So be mindful of yourself. Yeah, so J Dog, be mindful. Your boss may be snarky, may be condescending, may inadvertently be, annoying in some level. Okay, so this is the other thing the contractor did. So he pokes a hole in my screen. Okay, my screen. We went through the screens when he came the first time. I got 2 replaced, and I pointed to the slider and said I would have this replaced, but it's still in good shape. When he had to go have it restrung, he not only accused me of, how do I know there wasn't a hole in it already, which he did know. Then he said, why are we restringing to the string guy? He repeated to me that the guy who was redoing the screen said, I can just patch this. Why would you patch something so it looks half-assed when you're going through a renovation to make everything look fresh and new? Now, this to me was bait. I don't know if this a-hole knew he was baiting me, but in my world, I'm like, okay, in my mind, I'm like, don't take the bait. Just don't take the bait. And he was condescending when he's like, oh, Teri wouldn't accept a patch, as if I'm being difficult. You know, it is what it is. That's his job. And I'm not being difficult. But my story, my history would be, and Taurus, Uranus in Taurus is your history of some kind. Yeah, this is the new guy. This is the new guy. I'm beginning to think that contractors have just sucked up too much demo debris and they're assholes, even the best of them. So he didn't finish. He deemed it unnecessary. He charged me for things. And then he goes, well, there's only 2 here that are broken. And I'm so annoyed that I'm like, I've already hired somebody else and I'm not going to chase this guy down. I'm not, it's not worth it to me. So, and these are the things, you know, that you literally tell somebody. So I say this because they're above God, I think. I don't know. This guy was literally telling me, he was villainizing me, that he was driving out to Riverside to pick up something. I'm like, that's your problem. I would have had it delivered, you know? So in any case, the reason I bring this up is because Uranus is very, very unemotional by nature, and very kind of cold and calculating on some level. It's too busy moving to the future. It's too busy experimenting, bringing in new technologies. And then there's Mars sitting on Regulus as they make a square. So just be mindful, because you don't have to take the bait. It may hurt. You may bite your tongue. You may feel like you're bleeding, but it may be just the opportunity to feel a shift within yourself, because there's still so much with Saturn and Neptune on the world axis. They're like 1 degree off of it. There's a weird polarization, and people are just going to be a-holes, or people are going to be weird, or they're going to be funky. And there's nothing you can do about it except know that I started thinking, because people tell me the strangest stuff. So this guy tells me, like, when he walks in the door, his birthday, I know his birthday. And I'm like, were you born in Utah? He goes, no, I was born in Vegas. So after this whole thing is over, I go and I look at the chart. Now, mind you, I don't know what his rising sign is, because I don't know the time of his birth. But the planets are in opposition from the 10th to the 4th house in his chart. And I could see where he gets his attitude, and has Chiron on his sun. So I'm going to let Chiron do its thing. I'm not going to bother. So pick your poison, they say, because there's a lot of it out there, literally walking through landmines right now. My attempt, my story, as I took all my notes yesterday, was that I was going to record another video, but I don't trust myself right now, to be honest with you. My sense of lack of motivation, and my, Neptune and Saturn are sitting on my south node, and Chiron's sitting on my ascendant. And I'm exhausted. I'm exhausted from people beating me up. I'm exhausted from trying to be helpful to people who are unappreciative. I'm exhausted from fighting with the landlord that's a total D-bag. And I feel like I can't get a nap long enough. They're not. And it's annoying to me, because they villainize me for my detailed, and I have Venus in Virgo. So it's, but in any case, it is what it is. And I kept telling myself yesterday, look at the beauty. Okay. There's so much beauty here. Don't let this man and his attitude poison my attitude. That's where I'm going. Well, Cassandra, Kat, welcome to the room. Hello, everybody. Thank you for being here today. We're going to start our readings now. I'm psycho detail oriented as well. And I make lists, and I give everybody, I'm very communicative. I start off saying, this is how I roll. And what I find is that, and this might be my 12th house rising. This is why this is so important, because my South Node is in the 12th house of Aries, and my rising is at 26 degrees. And my sun is in Libra in fall. My Mars, in detriment. No, in fall. And Mars is in detriment in Libra, my ruling planet. This lifetime is really not about me other than me understanding human frailty, human bullshit. I still don't like it, but I know that this guy's head is way more miserable, and he's way more miserable than I'll ever be. So why am I letting him take up real estate in my head and ruin my good time? Right. Hello, Level Plane Productions. Good to see you all in the room. I'm glad everybody's here. Let's start with our birthday folks, our Geminis. Rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Cancer moves into your second house. This is very fortuitous. Hey, MK Mountain. I always say MK Mountain. I'm pretty sure that's right. All right. Let's because think about this. Second house is a money house. And, as Jupiter goes into a sign that is very much about nurturing and intuition, and the best way to nurture other people is to demonstrate self-care. Those of you that love too much other people, because I don't, it's not a good thing. It isn't, because there's a very strong possibility of people taking advantage of you, which just builds resentment. And nobody can love you or know you as well as you know yourself. So the permissions that you give yourself to demonstrate healthy boundaries and compassion for that and grace for that are important. Welcome, Kike. Or so is it? Let me see. How do I say that? Kike. I want to say Kike for some reason. Well, anyway, Miss Grant, welcome to the room. I do think it's important I really want to emphasize that Saturn and Neptune together, moving into the sign of self of Aries, wherever that is in your chart, it's going to affect you. And it can really bring a dampening, like a feeling of, I just feel so old lately. I can't even see straight. I feel old. I feel tired. I feel invisible. All of those things. Neptune can make you feel invisible. Saturn obviously rules history and old age. You could even feel issues with your mouth and your teeth and your bones because of Saturn. So scrunch your butt cheeks, so that'll help you stand up straighter. Yeah, there's a lot of energy vampires right now, and they don't know they're vampires. That's the weird part. You know what? Okay, this is the thing. I don't want to bash my Cancers, but I will say this. Cancer tends to give what they want to receive. And one thing about this contractor, because when I was poking around his chart, I really think he's a Cancer rising, because what I know of him on a personal level. And he walked in, and everything he thought I wanted, because I know what you want. I'm like, you've seen me twice in your whole life. You don't know what I want. But he wouldn't get off it. You want me to do this fast. You want me to do this cheap. You want me to go out of my way. I'm like, I don't want you to do it cheap. I don't necessarily want you to do it fast. I want you to communicate with me. And everything, it ended up, and the cards, I even asked if he would be a good contractor, and they kind of gave me an iffy. But I didn't fight it because I didn't have anybody else. And so that's where I own my choice. And I think I'm bringing, and all these people that have this water energy. I know I want you to do it right. Exactly. But anyway, it's basically over. Okay, so this is the other thing. While I'm on my bitch fest, so we replaced the hood on over my stove. It was 20 years old and rusted, and he bought it. Supposedly had to drive out to Riverside to go get it, which is very far from here. Then it was not. When he put it on, a few hours later, I'm looking at it, and I see the light cover, and it's broken and discolored. And I take a picture of it and I send it to him, and he tells me that he put the old one on. And I'm like, why would you put the 20-year-old old one on? didn't it come with a light cover? And he said, no. And then he sent me a picture from Amazon. He lied about going out to Riverside, because then I went down to the trash to get the box of the hood, to get the number. And it was, his address was on it, his home address where he had it delivered. And I'm like, if you're going to lie, be smart about it. Don't leave the evidence around. So here he is martyring himself to me, telling me how much he drove all over the place to get me my shit to do this job. And I'm like, look, if this is how you run your business, that's your business. That's not my business. I would have had everything delivered. I wouldn't have even had it delivered to my house. I would have had it delivered to the location it was to be installed. But this is, this is where my lesson comes in. This is where my stuff comes in, because I'm speechless. I don't even know what to say. What the fuck is wrong with some people? I don't know. And as I said, this guy has Chiron sitting on his ego, his sun. So that could be what's wrong with him. He's a perpetual martyr. He's a perpetual victim. And, somewhere, I guess I feel a victim to the victim. I don't know. I'm mind blown. Yeah, I'm mind blown too. So the last thing he has to do is get me the cover for that light, and we'll see what happens. I don't understand why contractors are like that. The ones, I see the ones on TV, and I like them. So I don't understand, that kind of, it's a disappointment. I'll be honest with you, but I feel more sorry for his wife than anyone else, because when he started to sit down and blame me for everything that he decided he wanted to do for me, and I cut him off. I wasn't going to sit there and listen to him blame me. And he's like, you won't let me finish speaking. And I'm like, no, I won't let you finish blaming me. So in any case, I didn't go to war. I didn't school him. I didn't remind him what he knows about me, that I'm an intuitive. You never lie to an intuitive, okay? Just don't bother. It's stupid. It's honestly stupid. Because if they don't know what the exact lie is, they can feel the lie anyway. I can feel every lie told to me. I may not be right about the exact nature of the lie, but I can feel it. And the minute I smell that stink, and this guy's an idiot, because I have lots of people who are like, well, if he's good, let me know. I could have got him so much business. What an idiot. Oh my God. I know. It's amazing to me. I'll tell you this. My whole business is based on relationships. If I was an asshole to my clients, and I'll tell you, I've been rough with some of them. Grasshopper knows I've been a little bit rough with her sometimes when I think she's about to go over a cliff, but I do everything with love. I care about my clients so much. And if you don't build good relationships with your people, I don't care if you're a checker at the market, I don't care if you're a landscaper, everything is not about the job that's done. It's about how you do the job. And my dad used to tell me that, and it used to piss me off, because when I was younger, I would do a good job, but I was a bit of an a-hole myself, So, well, all I know is that I just feel like at this moment in time, my job is not to react. I have information that puts me in a position of responsibility, and that's astrology, Thank you, Kate. I wish I could. Oh, thank you so much. I'm going to start. I'm really an Aries. He is an Aries. And he's got, yeah. And that Capricorn, Cancer, whatever. What was that? What was this? I think it was Libra. I think his Aries was 10th house, as I recall. Libra, 4th house. And his wife's a Libra. But Aries versus Aries. Well, I will win because I'm smarter and I'm not a victim. But I'm smarter because I stopped arguing with him. and I just found someone else to do what I want done. And if I pay again for it, I do. It's the price of learning, and it's my transits right now. Apparently, it's just my transits. So, Keika. Oh, thank you. Keika. Okay. So I like to call people, like to say their names properly. All right. So I'm going to get things done, and I'm going to get back on track because there's a lot to talk about in the stars, and we're on a bridge right now, and we just have to keep walking across the bridge. So let's get to our Geminis before this show is, 3 days old. And hopefully I will stop looking so tired. I don't know if that's possible with old age. All right, Gemini, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. Let's see what Spirit has to say for you as Jupiter is moving into your second house. Very fortuitous. And we're looking at Venus entering your 12th house. Ooh, Ace of Cups, the Ace of Pentacles reversed, the Hermit reversed, and the Three of Cups. For my Geminis, this is a wonderful energy. It's the infusion of emotion. This is very much the infusion. We see a black pearl. There's something here that feels rare and fruitful and flowy. And what I think is happening for my Geminis is the Jupiter transit in your first house may have had you start thinking about how you want to expand your sense of self, how you want to grow. And I don't know if it's necessarily about work, but we see the Ace of Pentacles is upside down in the opportunity or the obstacle. And then we see the Hermit is upside down. Something has to do with your career. Something has to do with your material world. And there's a requirement of reflection in some way. There's the Hermit being upside down. It's a Virgo energy. So I feel like Spirit would like you to look at your material world and how it is. Are you enjoying yourself? Are you spending money on yourself? Meaning enjoying yourself. I'm doing this home design app. And if anybody gets on the app, be my friend. I don't have any friends on the app because I'm not on Facebook. But if you decide to do that, because this is a guilty pleasure of mine right now. And I feel like it's the only thing that's really keeping me calm when I want to war. Because somewhere for my Geminis, here is celebration. And I feel like we're looking at two warm, fuzzy cards, right? Love and celebration and wisdom in straight up. And then we have this material, physical energy upside down. So what I think for my Geminis is Spirit is saying, it's time for some playtime. It's time to, put the chores and the material worlds maybe on the side burner and, maybe go to the beach, go out with your friends, do something you enjoy, sit on your app and play, your games, whatever you think. But because I think what's going to end up happening as Jupiter moves into your second house of Cancer, this could really bring forth something for you. And I mean that where you're using your own skills, your own voice, your own empathy, the things that you have, just because you're when rule does not mean you don't have a strong EQ, and I feel like, because sometimes people tend to think that. And when we look at the Hermit, which is Virgo, but that's also a mercurial thing. I think Spirit is saying to put the practicality and the reality on hold for a minute, go do something a little more fun and avoid drama at all costs. I do think that there's a weird drama that's going to happen this week. I don't know why I think that. I just do. Maybe it's that square with Mars on Regulus. It's going to be floating there. So just be mindful. The other day, my neighbor walked by and he was bitching about Medicare, and he literally blames everybody who didn't vote for Harris, about Medicare. And I'm like, it's not going to fall apart. They're going to fix it. Don't freak out. And then he just starts to get defensive about it. And I'm like, okay, danger zone. Because I'm not freaking out about all this because of the transits. Yes, I see that on the headlines. I haven't seen much news lately because I've been submerged in this renovation. But But overall, what I go to is the idea that somewhere we're revisiting the Civil War years of the United States. And there's reconstructions, there's going to be disagreements, there's going to be fighting in politics. And right now, I just can't be bothered with it. I feel like I've got my own fish to fry. Yeah, that's the only way we're going to make it, is if we stay in the peaceful vibe. If we get sucked into, that's what I was with this contractor, is like, I knowing the transits, I'm like, I can't get sucked in. If I get sucked in, then I'm going to start to spin in a way and I won't be able to stop it. That's why I'm doing the app. I feel like it's therapy. Like designing rooms makes me feel good. And looking that I'm good at it makes me feel good. I've got a 4.98, I think, is out of 5 is my rating. So do what you can and think of it as money well spent. It is a little bit I don't know. It's a little nutty right now. Okay. On to our Leo's rising moon. Wait, Cancer. Sorry. I'm skipping the main event, kind of. Cancer. Here we go. Sorry. All right. The Two of Cups. The Fool reversed. The Six of Pentacles reversed. And the King of Wands reversed. This is interesting because in this deck, the Two of Cups represents two things that are different coming together and offering something to each other. The Fool is a journey. Now, I know if the Fool, many tarot people call this Uranus. I do not. I think it's Mars, because this is a pioneer going out on a journey, not looking where they're going. I don't think Uranus doesn't look where it's going. Uranus is, visionary. Uranus looks to the future. Mars is reactionary, okay? So here, I think with this being upside down, Cancer, it is about you get to go on a journey. And I want to offer this journey. It's looking at the exchange of energy, okay? Because here we have the Six of Pentacles. It's in the angel's advice, but it's upside down. So it's the journey that they're asking you to go on is one of receiving, one of allowing the universe and the universe's messengers, whether they be human or computer. Sometimes, you'll read something on the internet and it will hit you, because this King of Wands feels Jupiterian to me. It rules. This is a Sagittarius energy. 3 of these 4 cards are upside down. So Cancer, somehow this week, as Jupiter moves into your first house, and again, we're going to talk Placidus, okay? So if you are later degree, mid to late degree Cancer rising, we're talking about it entering the second half of your 12th house, and we're starting to expand spiritually and to go on journeys spiritually of self-care, self-nurturing, that then helps others feel nurtured by the Cancer energy. I really think that, and this is not about scolding you, because I think Cancer means well, but if you continue to give without an even exchange of energy, it is a recipe for disaster. It really is. It's literally when this guy, the contractor, was like, I'm gonna give you a deal. I'm like, don't give me a deal, because when people give you a deal, it's like a setup for them to say, well, I didn't do this, I gave you a deal. I'm like, I'll pay full price, because I want you to do the job I want you to do, not the job. And I ended up, it's hard to trust your own instincts sometimes, because we are walking through human frailty. And just because you see the frailty in one person and you try to move away from it, maybe it's not about moving away from it, it's moving through it. So I get to recognize that this person is who it is, and I get to somehow not villainize him. I think for my Cancers that somewhere there's not an exchange of energy, and you get to sit through the uncomfortable journey of starting to create an energy of exchange. So you're not giving. And I don't know. I've never met a Cancer that was a taker. So I can't do that. And I want to offer this too, because early born cancers and late born cancers are feeling the squares, the square to Chiron, the late born, and the early born are feeling that Saturn, Neptune, and that's not going to go away for a while. That's going to be like they're going to retrograde and it's going to go back. So history will come back. A feeling of erosion could potentially come back. At this moment in time, for the Cancer energy to give of self helps to balance that energy. And it will help to retrain those in your life. Because you might have to do a little retraining. All right, let's go on now to our Leos. Oh, welcome, Soul Secret Service. I hope I said hi to you. Welcome to everybody. Whoa, I don't know if you heard that. That was pretty gnarly. Somebody's dragging something down the street, and it sounds like nails on a chalkboard. Can you hear that? Yeah. I think every Sunday morning for the last few months, there have been a running group that meets at the Catch Surf down right on the other side of the alley. And they're very rah, and excited to be there. Yeah, did you hear that? Wow, that was big. I think they're done. All right, on to our Leos. Now, my Leos, with Mars in your first house, and it's exiting, but it's about to go into your second house. Just be mindful of your own energy this week, because you could find yourself a little bit on the crankalicious side. Because again, with Mars making a square to Uranus and Mars on Regulus, there's a feeling of Mars being like, a little bit uppity, I'll be honest. A little like, I know what I'm doing, don't fuck with me. Pardon my language. All right, so the High Priestess is reversed. The Seven of Pentacles straight up. The Ten of Swords in the Angel's Advice is reversed, and the Hierophant is in the Angels are in the final position. You're avoid Leos this week, you might want to, but I will say this for my Leos: you're not connected to yourself this week. And in this deck, we see that the High Priestess, the moon, is very, very large, and it's in her solar plex, not at her feet, like we would see in the normal Rider-Waite deck. So for my Leos, this is about being aware of your emotional body and to be aware of what fills you and what depletes you. I'll tell you, sometimes the smallest thing can break you, and when it's hot and you want some ice cream, I can be a total child sometimes and have a fit, because literally, Leo, this is about taking your stuff and being more mobile. Don't go to the drama. It's not that bad, but it's still the Ten of Swords. That's in the Angel's Advice. Seek the sacred. This Hierophant, it has a Jupiterian flair. It's very Taurus, but it has a Jupiterian flair. Often you see the religious figure on the Hierophant. So here, I think this week is about honoring thyself. And I am not giving us all license to be lazy, but I will say to fight when you feel a lack of inspiration and when you literally feel like you're pushing a rock uphill but I got to do something. It's a big do-over. It'll end up being funky. So honor thyself. Honor thyself and thy intuition, that it might be like, if you feel off, just honor yourself. Don't push on it. And don't push on other people. I'm going to pull one more for my Leos. Yeah. There's the balance upside down. This is a strong Jupiterian energy, I got to tell you. So I really think that Mars and Uranus square that's happening basically all week long is going to play out for you. And I want to say this too, because if for some reason, the Cancer energy is your 12th house. So there could be, with Jupiter moving into its natural 12th house, Leo, Cancer, yeah, then you could find something that has to do with, an old story comes up. but also this is an opportunity to stop and I literally want to say sit and meditate and allow for a spiritual journey of awareness. Or to, one of the things I've been doing since I have felt a lack of motivation is I've been studying astrology. That's Jupiter, to learn. I got a whole bunch of new books. I don't know if you can see them on my bookshelf there. I'm really enjoying Steve Arroyo. He has some interesting things to say and interesting ways. His books are interesting to read. They're, at least the ones I have, are conversational. So you may want to just kind of divert somehow. That might help diffuse something that feels like it could be a little dramatic. Move away from it. Okay. On to our Virgos, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Well, let me offer this, Lorelei, because what you can do is, rather than be in a job search, you can be in an active job receiver. So you say to Spirit, I would like a job that pays me this amount of money or more. I would like a job that gives me this kind of freedom or this kind of schedule. And you start to focus in on the job that you want, and then you tell Spirit to bring you into that opportunity. Because the reason you got laid off might not be to throw you under the bus, but rather to expand you. So I always, like, I have been very slow with my clients, and I don't at all think it's because clients aren't calling. I think it's because I've been so distracted. And then when I'm not distracted, I'm exhausted. And I say, oh, tomorrow I'm going to shoot a video. And then tomorrow comes and I just like, oh, I'm so tired. And I'm not laying down. No, I'm cleaning, or I'm having to move something, or or deal with a screen door or whatever. So I really, really think that this potential job opportunity and the timing of it is very interesting, because May is, to me, this month where there was eclipses in May, or in end of April, no, March, sorry. There's something that's being teed up, is what I'm trying to say. So the job search should be a job receiver, and then you tell Spirit how the job feels. About the people, talk about the people in the job. They're great people. They're very supportive. It's a fun environment, and people are not competitive. They're supportive, and yet everybody is expansive. I want to do that, and then watch magic happen. I said to Spirit this morning, I got to start getting back in the saddle. And sure enough, somebody, texted me right before I started the show. They're coming this afternoon. All right, here we go, Virgo. We have the Knight of Wands. We have the Page of Cups reversed. We have the Six of Wands reversed. And then we have the Eight of Wands. Okay. The Knight of Wands, the Knights are always an energy of the hero, the teenage energy. It's a youthful energy, but it's also an energy that, there's a bit of fight in it. When we're looking at the Knight of Wands, we're looking at passion. We're looking at the fire signs. So, and in this deck, all this deck is very interesting to me, because there's a lot of water in all the cards. So this is about being on an emotional journey and having faith and having passion for it. Okay. Now we see the cups, the Page of Cups upside down. So somewhere Virgo doesn't feel that sense of emotion, that like the opportunity or the obstacle is this. The obstacle is that you may be being too practical. You may be worrying about something. That was the first thing I got. There's somewhere that you may potentially want to be. The information hasn't come through. There's still something dangling, because in the angel's advice, the victory is not here. It's upside down. So it could be that you might not be feeling appreciated. But something is you're about to get a message of some kind. The Eight of Wands is always a message of some kind, or a conclusion, coming to a conclusion, or an ending of some kind, which brings a new chapter. I'm pulling one more card. Okay, for my Virgos, if you are focused on practicality, you've got the South Node going through your first house. Okay, so you could very easily be feeling like everything is just, and that is so hard for Virgo because Virgo is naturally meant to move forward I mean, you're the sign of work, you're the sign of health, you're the sign of service to others. And here, when I pulled the Two of Pentacles, there's a lack of flow. So I want to offer this week, if for some reason you're feeling frustrated because, Mars is now in your 12th house, and you're feeling, or even potentially your first, no, can't be your first house. It has to be your 12th house or 11th. But because when I go into the 12th house, when I think of Mars there could easily be this feeling of leadership, of there's more than people are seeing. And you may be frustrated about that. And I feel like maybe it's time to take a journey, the Knight of Wands, into something that brings more passion to you. And if you are passionate within your work environment, then maybe it's even about stepping into something where you're willing to be more of a delegator. And I wanted to use the word leader, but that kind of put a little snag in my head because I didn't want you doing all the work. It's more of being a leader and delegating some of that work, so you can oversee the process, but not actually be the one that performs it. And that might start to bring in a little more flow. Oh yeah, well, it definitely looks like there's not a lot of love coming through, and you're not feeling, and Virgo's not feeling very victorious. That would be the upside down Page of Cups and Six of Wands. So in order to create the flow, I think there has to be, you might just have to let other people screw up. That's the other thing, Sometimes nothing gets, the challenge about Virgo is Virgo, has a big pooper scooper. And so they're like Cancer on some level. They think if they help other people and they get it done for them, that they'll be appreciated. I don't even know if Virgo even tries to be appreciated, but it's frustrating because the other people tend to just let the Virgo keep picking things up, so you got to not pick something up sometimes, but that's sort of sometimes what you got to do. You got to let the stink get so bad, because the thing about the person on the other side that's used to having their needs met versus the person who's meeting other people's needs is they have a long wait time. They can wait and wait and wait. And I know my sense of organization makes me impatient. So welcome, Mystic Road. That's a pretty handle. Virgo rising can be very challenging because, it's got that Pisces 7th house. And if it is clicking into the 6th and 12th house axis, it's a little bit of a challenge because that's the axis of self-undoing. And sometimes doing too much is the self-undoing. Wow. Okay. Let's move on to our Libras. Oh, wow. See, and that's what they know about you. They know that small will do it. And that's one of those things that, at some point, if you get frustrated, you can kind of own, well, I do it for my own peace of mind. I don't do it for their peace of mind. Because when I didn't bitch this guy out, and when I just was like, it was for me. I don't think you should be nice to people. I think you should be kind to people, because nice people won't tell you that you have a booger in your nose or that you have food in your teeth. They'll just pretend they didn't notice it. But a kind person will tell you and go through the momentary embarrassment with you, and then it's over, So while I had a very intense discussion with this contractor, when I saw the writing on the wall that he's just going to be like, tell his story, I got up in frustration and I went in my room and I did a small meditation. And I was just breathing. And Lucky was staring at me. He's like, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And I'm like, "I'm not going to let this guy get to me." And now that's not easy for me because I'm a warrior. So we really have to kind of pick our battles at this moment, because the squirrely will be super, super rabidly squirrely. All right, Libra, here we go. Rising moon, sun, and stelliums. I'm going to give it a good shuffle. Ooh. I say that and I drop everything. Okay. All right, here we go. We have the Hierophant upside down, the Page of Cups straight up, the Eight of Pentacles straight up, and the Four of Pentacles. Okay. For my Libras, this is a very material spread. The Hierophant upside down is this could be for me a little bit of worry. Again, this is a Taurus energy. All right. Venus rules both Taurus and Libra. Taurus is your 8th house of other people's money. It's also feeling the square to Pluto. Pluto's retrograde about 3 degrees. And if you're, okay, I'm going Libra rising. I'm going to your 8th house. I feel like there's something about money that maybe you potentially have concerns about, or things don't feel flowy, because that's exactly what this would represent. Okay. Then there's the Page of Cups. This is an emotional energy. I feel as if they're talk about prosperity. This is in the angel's advice. Something is growing. The Eight of Pentacles is a card of working hard. It is a card of money. It is a card of money flowing very much. And now we have the stuck money here. So if I'm to look at my Libras, I would say that there's a concern that maybe there's a lack of flow. You might be telling the story that it's raining when it's just sprinkling, okay? And you don't quite need an umbrella to protect yourself. And it's time to tend to your garden instead of focusing in on what is not in balance. So I'm a Libra sun. Scorpio rising is next, J-Dog. Scorpio rising will be next. So for my Libras, whatever's going on, here's that draggy person dragging whatever they're dragging again. There's something, if you feel something material is kind of stuck. Now, we always go to money, but material things are beyond money. Like your material thing could be your house is out of repair. Your property is out of repair. Something is upside down for Libra. And in the upside down, don't key into the story too much. That's what the page is telling. Tell the story you want to hear. Remind yourself that prosperity comes. When this guy was driving me nuts, and I'm not saying he wasn't driving me nuts all night last night in my sleep, I find myself on one level thinking like a warrior, and then I go to the other side. Everything's always working out for me. This is a divine disruption that I will find, prosperity through or something. And I start to talk about, this is for Libra moon, absolutely. So if you're not seeing things in the material world and you're feeling stuck, don't freak out. Just sort of allow the air to, yeah. This is all somehow about the material. I just pulled a 7 of Pentacles. When I talk about the material, I'm talking about the physical, something in the physical world. Things are moving. You just can't see them right now. You may feel stuck, but you won't feel stuck much longer. Yeah. I feel like this is actually for me, because this is how I've been feeling. All right, let's go on to our Scorpio rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. So last night, I decided to watch a show on the P. Diddy trial. It's on my Peacock. It's like half-hour little something. And of course, as I'm watching the stories, I'm like, I wonder what his chart looks like. He's a Scorpio. He's born November 4th, 1969, which is very interesting to me because there were some things in his chart that were, obviously his sun is ruled by Pluto, but I think he has a Scorpio rising as well. That's beautiful to have Jupiter move into its natural ninth house. That's so much expansion through emotional connectedness and sensitivity to one's own needs and nurturing of self. It could also bring great expansion for, like, you could have a home business. You could have business that's centered around the home, whether it be, I know we don't think of Cancer as design, but a lot of these things overlap. And when we look at Cancer in the ninth house, we're looking at beliefs. We're looking at a sense of patriotism. We're looking at a sense of traveling to somewhere new that feels like home. And it could be a belief system that feels right versus a literal move. Oh, that's very good. It's very good. Jupiter in Cancer is very good. Jupiter is exalted in Cancer. So Jupiter has the best potential for expansion, for movement, for travel. And the travel is not necessarily moving my body from one location to another. It's moving my attitude. For some reason, all morning long, I keep thinking of that. My big fat Greek wedding, right? Where the mother says, the man may be the head of the household, but the woman is the neck that turns the head. So this is what I was thinking Jupiter is in Cancer. It's the neck that turns, right, into the direction and expands where I want to be. Okay, so let's see, Scorpio, what Spirit has to say. Ooh, there's the World straight up. That's Saturn. There's Three of Pentacles straight up. There's the Queen of Pentacles inverted and the Empress. All right, so this is very powerful for this week. The World is a card that it represents Saturn, but in its highest vibration, where the Fool has gone through the whole major arcana and now understands the landscape of the human structure, the contrast, the natural inherent resistance that this planet has. In the material, we call it gravity, but that resistance is the key to our expansion, because now this is about becoming a team and being brave with your own leadership. This is very strong Capricorn energy, these two cards. First, we have Mars in Capricorn, okay? Now, in this is a beach scene and they're having fun, but this is a cooperation. This is a team effort. And then we see that this Queen is building something. She's still in the midst of creating. So don't get too, sometimes Scorpio can be a little impatient and make a decision that emotionally, because the Empress is upside down. And then this is, to me, okay, when the Empress is upside down, something is not, it's not moving as quickly as maybe you would like. It's not gestating the way you want it to. It's not being birthed the way you want it to. But I want to offer it this way, because the World in its relaxation may be offering you something that you can't see. So let's say that you are, when I was younger, when I wanted to start my spiritual business, I literally imagined a building with books in it and coffee or tea and snacks for people to hang out, but we don't do that anymore because of technology. We hang out in our homes and we meet online. There may be something going on with Scorpio where what you're building is viable, but there's going to be some sort of, there's a transformation, and with the outer planets moving the way they are, it doesn't mean it's far off. They want you to be in cooperation with what you're building and be a leader. You might not be being a leader. You may inadvertently be annoyed. Your co-ruling planet Mars, again, is sitting very close to Regulus, making a square to Uranus. So you may inadvertently, because all of that squares or opposes you, you may inadvertently feel like you're being slowed down or you're being stopped. But I don't know that that's necessarily true. I'm going to pull one more card. The Justice card. Something is coming, something needs to come into balance. And that's partially what's going on. So the universe could be moving things around so that it lines up more succinctly. The Justice card is a Libra card, so we think of it as fairness and balance, but Justice card is also where we see professional contracts. So for my Scorpio risings, you could very well be feeling this desire to have a new chapter, to move into an emotional new realm where you are more the driver of the bus of your money and your playtime and your fun. But there's a part of you that's going to have to, I kind of want to look at it this way. I'm going to say this lovingly. You got to be a team player. And I don't know if the team is with other humans. It might be the team player with spirit, And most humans don't think, they think if they're talking like, oh, the universe is always working out for me as pie in the sky. It's really not. I want to say this, J-Dog, because letting things go is so hard. I mean, it is for me. I'm a Taurus moon, but I can let it grow. And if in letting it grow, it takes that ball of crap, that manure that's feeding whatever it is that I'm trying to grow. And that seems easier for me. Letting it go is like, I feel like I'm just a chump, Somebody hurts me or disses me and I'm just a chump. And I don't like feeling like a chump. All right, on to our Sagittariuses. This week you have a full moon. So this is going to illuminate something. And the whole Jupiter theme of a Sagittarian full moon, Jupiter moving into Cancer, Mercury moving into Cancer. Just all feels like, it feels like self-realization to me on some level. I don't know why I want to put it that way, but I feel like I recognize things in myself. And now I stop either rubbing up against them or I start relaxing. I'm like, you know what? I can't fret about this anymore. It is what it is, A butterfly landed on me at the beach for like an hour. Can I tell you, DJ, that as you were typing that and I was looking out the window, a butterfly was flying back and forth. So that's very significant to me because I think that's basically what the butterfly is. The butterfly comes out of the cocoon and must endure 3 days or so of its wings drying while it's susceptible to wasps and all other sort of predators. So when we look at the butterfly, it is a very challenging transformation. It is not effortless in any way. All right, Sagittarius, we have the Magician upside down. We have the Ace of Pentacles upside down, the 10 of Pentacles upside down, and the 3 of Pentacles straight up. Literally, Spirit is saying you are as above, so below. Your thoughts are things, and right now you're not recognizing that you are commanding your universe. And maybe this full moon this week might help do that because you are very much focused on creating something in the material world. Something in the material world that brings money and security, but it's not clicking yet. It's not, again, I want to offer this. I really, truly believe two things. Number one, many of us that are standing in awareness, some people call it consciousness, are going to experience, thank you, DJ, our greatest successes, our greatest happinesses and fulfillments in later chapters of life. Part of that is because of the planetary activity and our awareness and taking advantage of it, because Spirit is asking you to become a team player with them. Now, within the Sagittarian energy are two very powerful points. Number one is the 14 degrees of Sagittarius, anything within 5 to 12 degrees of that. And if it's your rising sign or your moon or any of your personal planets, you have great power through that planet to create abundance for yourself and expansion and material expansion. If indeed you have anything around 27 degrees of Sagittarius, within a degree or two, now this is a much tighter orb, you have the ability to connect with spirit and download solutions and get information through inspirations. So what's happening right now is you're not accessing your power. You're stuck somehow in the material, and it's not steady in some way. It must be choppy. And spirit's saying it's time to reconnect with your team. Now, the easiest way to reconnect with your team is to take whatever scenario you're worried about or you're thinking about, and then telling spirit the ideal way it would play out, and use the alphabet. It would be absolutely amazing, and I will feel blessed and I will feel confident in using the alphabet high less to facilitate that with spirit. So I really want to encourage you, especially Sagittarius is with this full moon, whatever illuminations come, remember to keep your feet on the ground, but you are of the stars, and stretch for them, because spirit will start to, I think, very rapidly bring things into the material, because we are again being teed up for a galactic entry. We're going into a new community where we're going to meet new species of humans, or whatever they are, that talk and walk like we do and think and are discerning. They're not animals. And as we make this migration out into space, we're being teed up now to have understanding of that. I hope that doesn't get too crazy, but thoughts are things, and a lot of creatures out there already know that. Thank you so much, DJ. I really appreciate the donations. It just helps so much. All right, we're going on to our Capricorns, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Whoops. All right. We have the Four of Swords, the Page of Pentacles, the Eight of Pentacles reversed, and the Emperor. All right. Well, okay, my Capricorns. Your ruling planet is squaring you if you're early born Capricorn rising or moon. And then we have the late degree Capricorns being squared by Chiron. This is happening to all the cardinals in one way: square, opposition, or conjunction. This is really about being more gentle with your thoughts. Oh, DJ, you have a 14-degree great attractor. You can attract anything you want. What planet is on there? Is it your rising sign? But this is Capricorn. This is about rest. Okay, this is about replenishment. This is about kind of, giving spirit an opportunity to inspire a thought. Because here we see the Page of Pentacles. Okay, feels very much like a dreamer, dreaming of what I want in the material. And this is in the Angel's Advice is the Eight of Pentacles. The Eight of Pentacles is a money card. It's about working hard. For my Capricorns, this is a time to relax a little bit and recalibrate your dreams, to assess. We think about your ruling planet conjunct Neptune. The higher vibration of that is to build a strong foundation with not only your spiritual team, but with the soul that lives within, the truth that you want to experience. Because this Emperor right now is the Aries energy, and it's about you, and it's about being the master of your own domain. And I think that if you take Spirit's advice and you sort of Four of Swords relax, this is where the Knight has come back after, again, being out in battle and communing with Spirit. There's a sense of this need to rest is also a healing energy. When we think about the warrior going into battle, of course, there's physical potential of being physically hurt. But what happens with all that adrenaline and all that, that intense emotion of death, of danger. So there's a decompression of that that's necessary. So I think for my Capricorns, having, experienced Pluto going through your first house and now into your second house, it's about dreaming bigger. It's about deciding how you want to use your skills and how you want to individualize yourself, and starting to put the, rather than the duty and the obligation, to start to build like Saturn would, from the golden age, to be an individual. Okay. All right. Let's go on to our Aquarius's rising moon, sun, and stelliums. If you're a late born Aquarian, rising moon or sun, you're going to feel the opposition to Mars, and that makes a T square to Uranus. So this could be a little bit something, Uranus being your ruling planet. The desire for freedom, the desire for liberation, the desire to move into the future could be very strong. And again, I want to caution this week my fixed signs, because there's something that feels like it comes at you a little bit, and it could be an old story, but it could be a new face, or it could be an old face and a new story. But I kind of feel like it's an old face. It's an old story with a new face. And this is a kind of a vibrational opportunity to shift, to take yourself into the future by not necessarily reacting to something, but allowing yourself to, when we think about Aquarius, one of the very first things people ever say is, they rule the nervous system and nervous breakdowns and anxiety. And one of the things maybe for Aquarius this week is to see that, an energy creates anxiety, and to say no to it, to think about your future. There goes that butterfly again, just floating by the window. All right, here we go, Aquarius. The Judgment card upside down, the star is upside down, the moon is upside down, and the 10 of Cups is upside down. These are cards we haven't gotten all day. The Judgment card is interesting because it's Plutonian in nature. So there is clearly, judgment indicates a decision, but there's confusion around the decision. There is unsureness. There's a lack of faith. There is, will I be happy? Will I be happy or won't I? I want to offer it this way, because the Judgment card upside down is less intense as it is when it is straight up. The Judgment card would be coming to some sort of conclusion, decision, reconciliation. The star is challenging upside down because it is that lack of faith. It's that lack of focus in on what you want and reverence for it. Now, the moon is also upside down. So this tempers the confusion and the fog. But yet at the same time, there's a strong spiritual dynamic here that's happening with Aquarius. And Aquarius may inadvertently, because you're ruled by Uranus and you're known not to be the most emotional sign, you see the bigger picture in many ways. And because of that, you don't always relate one-on-one. And yet, I think this is coming into some sort of reconciliation with your own wants and desires on how you really want to be happy. Because this is something that I think gets to be reconsidered. Somewhere in this, for my Aquariuses this week, your happiness and the actions you're taking towards that happiness are going to be on the docket for thought. And there could be there potentially could be, I don't know, I think there could be arguments or tense discussions or somehow opposing viewpoints of a situation. And you could be a little susceptible with all these cards in reverse, feeling, because there's been no physical movement. This is all on the emotional plane. This isn't so. Essentially what I'm saying to Aquarius is something could come up that could create a lack of faith or a trepidation about actions moving forward. Do I feel necessarily confident? I don't know, and I don't know that you do. And that's why I think it's going to be so important for you to make this choice based on your happiness, not on fake happiness. And I say that because the 10 of Cups upside down it's not lined up. The happy family, that fulfillment that we want is not there. And pull one more. There's the Hanged Man. This is definitely for Aquarius. This is a time to sit in deep, I want to say meditation, but I don't always think meditation is about a kumbaya. Because sometimes, especially with the warrior energy, like Uranus, physical action can bring an epiphany, can bring like almost feel like if I was boxing or if I was running and then I have an epiphany because something feels upside down, and it feels like spirit is wanting Aquarius to connect with the vision of their future rather than what they see right now. Because what they see right now could inadvertently, because of the squares that are going on, because Aquarius is at Pluto in the first house, it could be very unsettling. It could feel like more like something is being eroded versus something being blossomed. And I don't know that that's not true. Meaning something could be blossoming, but it looks like erosion on the onset. Okay. Essentially, it's a lack of faith more than anything else. Let's go on to our Pisces, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. We only have a few more signs to go. Pisces, Aries, and Taurus, and then we'll be done for today. All right, my Pisces. We have the 10 of Wands. We have the Ace of Wands upside down, the Knight of Swords upside down, and the 9 of Swords upside down. Well, Pisces is experiencing, I'm just keep thinking about Saturn and Neptune as it's left Pisces, okay? And even though it's still kind of in orb of the last degrees of Pisces, technically this is moving into your second house. And there could be this feeling of burden that's coming because the 10 of Wands is burden, that's Saturn. The Ace of Wands upside down is a lack of inspiration. The Knight of Swords upside down is not feeling like I can assert myself in any way. And then the 9 of Swords is a worry card, okay? And it's upside down, so it lessens the worry, but it's still dramatic nonetheless. So somewhere Pisces is feeling burdened. They're feeling like whatever inspirations they want, whatever individuality they want, something is not. I need to pull another card. That's the Death card, and then the 7 of Wands. They're both inverted as well. I want to say it this way. This looks to me as if the compassionate side of Pisces is not necessarily supporting the Pisces as an individual. And if for some reason there are people in your life that require your attention and it is diminishing you or defeating you or creating a lack of, you're being able to put your ideas on the table. I remember years ago when I first started my channel, this woman came into my world and she wanted to work with me. And the next thing I know, everything was becoming focused on her somehow, her kids, her idea of astrology, and nothing of it had, like, I was feeling my individuality being eroded. And I don't think she intended that, but I had to put a stop to it immediately because I felt like I was getting sucked in. somewhere, this is for Pisces, is there's a burden that is taking away your own sense of self and inspiration. You love this person or care about the dynamic on some level, but in order for it to be healthy, you're going to have to create a bridge and walk across that bridge of individuality. And that's not necessarily easy for Pisces. And I want to offer it this way because this might be an emotional issue with someone and your needs need to be met. And you're afraid that they're going to get mad at you and they're not going to love you anymore. And that's not healthy. So you might want to rethink that. And let me offer this before I go on to my Aries. If indeed you're having an issue with an individual and you're concerned that if you express your needs that you will be villainized, go to Spirit and express them there first. And then ask Spirit to bring in an inspiration where you can express your individuality. But don't do it when you're feeling nervous, because what will end up happening is you'll end up feeling choppy and it'll just create more worry. This is a little bit of a challenge. This week's not always easy. Well, these weeks aren't very easy. All right, on to our Aries. Rising moon, sun, and stelliums. So when we look at the Aries energy and we see that Chiron is sitting at the late degrees of Aries, we're looking at like a trine to the Sagittarian energy and the Leo energy. And I think this is important because Mars is in those late degrees of Leo right now. And while it's a trine, it still makes me a little concerned because Chiron in the late degree, making a trine to Mars in the late degree of Leo, it could go two ways. I could get really, really bunched up about my wounds and nobody's like, cares or pays attention, or I can transcend them. So your awareness, because the trine obviously is a harmonious aspect, but Chiron and Mars, they're both warriors. Chiron is a warrior and was very skilled in combat, and Mars is on Regulus right now. So there could be something happening. And then Mars squaring Uranus in Taurus has me a little concerned that this is an interesting dynamic of, it could be polarizing for my Aries, meaning you could go down the rabbit's hole on the dark side, or you could transcend the rabbit's hole of your own mind and become more of the higher vibrations of both planets. The brave warrior that knows how to pick his battles and not bluster to his enemy, but rather, walk softly and carry a big stick. I don't know if y'all remember that saying. All right, here we go, Aries. We have the 10 of Cups straight up, the 2 of Cups straight up, the Star straight up, and the Ace of Wands straight up. Thank you, God, for that. The 10 of Cups is very happy. I want to say it this way because as a very strong Aries energy, I'm very, very strong Aries energy. When I conquer the beast of my own reactions, because I'm not usually wrong when I get mad, to be honest with you. I'm very balanced in owning my shit. But when I'm right about something and somebody else is a victim and I can be impossible. And so I don't want to be that person. I don't want to waste my breath on that person anymore, where I used to waste a lot of breath. Because now I think, Aries, your happiness is what's most important. And having this strong planetary activity happening in your first house, Saturn and Neptune, are you going to build a strong relationship with Spirit and come from there? Or are you going to continue or be erosive to yourself and let Saturn, limit you and repress you and feel? Because Saturn is good in Aries. There's no way Mars is exalted in Capricorn and Saturn is not good in Aries. So now this is about being a strong leader and about learning how to have an exchange of energy and to literally from the divine. How can you be a hero if you don't know how to exchange energy? Because new inspirations are coming. This is wonderful. This is a really good spread. I want to say for my Aries, whatever disruptions, and I myself feel this to be true, I'm learning from them. I don't know if I'm learning. I don't really like the learning, but I am aware and I'm making choices. And while the choices aren't always easy because my instinct is to punch first and ask questions later, my higher self is like, whoa, 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 ask yourself the most important question. Is this worth your energy? Because I'm done being mad at people that are too stupid for me to be mad at. Sorry. Was that blunt? Because it's a waste of time. And Aries, when you get locked up, and you can this week. So be mindful, because I think that the trine that's happening with the Aries energy to the Leo, Mars and Leo energy is going to come into play. And then that square from Mars to Uranus is going to be to me, that's the incident. And how will you react is the trine. I hope that made sense for you all. Now let's go on to our final sign of the day. This is our Tauruses, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. When you think about the idea of Uranus moving into Gemini, which is really powerful because there's, the genius of Uranus moving into the learning and the everyday information and activities of Gemini can really bring in, this is your second house, could really bring in a lot of money using your own skills and your own, I want to say resources rather than money, because oftentimes money is a limiting word. Resources is often expansive for people because they're not predisposed to limit themselves with that word. All right, let's see, Taurus. She has the permanent crown, whether YouTube gives it to her or not. All right, we have the Magician, as above, so below. We have the Seven of Wands. Oh, and that's upside down, by the way. We have the Seven of Wands straight up. We have the Three of Pentacles straight up, and we have the Judgment card. Wow. Okay. So something is going to take place. And I want to offer this because Taurus rules history, family history. And whenever we see the Magician upside down, there's a lack of awareness that we are co-creating through our thoughts. And Spirit would like to bridge that, as seen by this Seven of Wands. You can hear Lucky walking through the house now. Hold on, let me see if you can see him. Say hi, Lucky. Say hi to everybody. It's so funny. He never, on the carpet, I could never hear him. He's like a little stealth bomber. But here, Spirit wants you to make a bridge and to work with them, to literally start to be aware and to come to a conclusion and make a decision of how you're going to think and how you're going to roll. The Magician is mercurial by nature. The Magician is the commander of when we see the Magician in the traditional Rider-Waite deck, all the components, the recipe that the Magician needs is on the table. Okay. He's got a wand in his hand and he's pointing above and below. I think that Spirit is saying to Taurus, look at your tools. You're not looking at your tools because you have the ability to command your experience. And this is transformational for you. I think it's interesting here that this Magician is commanding the forest. What does Taurus rule? The land. It does. It rules cultivating of the land, it rules the food, it rules the growth, the environment there. And I think that it's important as well for Taurus to take advantage of the sextile that will be going on for the next year with Cancer. So that cooperative energy can help you build more skills. My little bit of this challenge is this Judgment card. Let me pull one more. The Nine of Wands. Yeah. The little bit of the challenge with our Taurus, because you rule history and you don't shift very easily, is that you can get in your head about things a little bit, and you can be like, well, this is how it's always been, so this is how it's going to be. And that's not necessarily true, because we have not experienced goodness gracious, a long time. I mean, we had Uranus in Aquarius, but that was, 24 years ago or something. So a lot of people are just going to be experiencing these outer planets in this new air and fire energy really powerfully for the first time. And maybe some of us as well, because, the last time that Uranus was actually in an air sign in Aquarius, there were other planetary things going on that were not the same. Pluto was in Capricorn, potentially even in Sagittarius. I didn't do all that history. But anyway, so my point is this for my Tauruses, because you could inadvertently talk yourself out of some magic if you go back into too much of a practical old story. And practicality is just fear disguised in human structure. So be mindful of that. All right. So, and that might be, who knows, maybe something will happen with that full moon that'll be illuminating. And take advantage of Venus while she's in your first house, because as she's the ruler of the house, she brings great benefit for you, again, to, capitalize on making more resources or using your skills in some way. What I have come to think about when people are annoying, when people are disruptive, when people are victim-y and, I'm the villain in their story, I've been started asking myself, is this a divine disruption that is designed to shift my focus? Or is this just my muggle mind, feeling sorry for myself again? So I drew in somebody who would remind me of the darker side of Teri. Whatever story. We all have a story in our head. And that's why I can't let the story go, but I can let it grow. So that's it for this week. Thank you so much. I'm really, I am working on my own interior inspiration. So I will be here on Super Soul Sunday, Super Sunday sermon. And we'll see what I get produced the rest of the week. I do have great hope. And I really do want to do a video about Jupiter, because, one of the things about Jupiter, as I've been reading about it, is I didn't realize Jupiter also rules thunder and lightning and storms. So it'll be very interesting to see if Jupiter brings more weather to the United States or storms to the United States. So that's my next big video, hopefully, is the Jupiter, and then the full moon. We'll see about getting back on track with the monthlies. All right, everybody, I love you. I pray for you every single night, for your happiness, for your peace of mind is what I pray for more than anything, because if you feel peace of mind, you should feel happy and content. And again, be gentle with yourself this week. I think Mars might be acting up a little bit, Mars and Uranus. So don't let them electrify you. All right, everybody. Peace out. I'll see you next week.